Alright, I'm here with Steve Posey today, and I'm hoping this is the continuation of the video we did with the other 12 scale. Same problem. We've got ride height. If you don't have to come over and look at it, but that's like 3.4, and this is like maybe 2.6. A second ago when I settled it, it was, yeah, under 2.6, and this is like at 3.2. So on the last video, we ended up checking, and I'll do it again. I don't think we actually got that on video. I came in and tightened these after kind of getting the pod square. There is an imaginary line of contact on each tire, and then on the front of each wing there's a virtual point that it touches on. So there's 4 contact points, and really all that means is we want the pod square to get the correct ride height. So I'm just going to loosen some of these screws on here just to make sure that the pod hasn't gone into some kind of parallelogram or something. And if you notice, I'm holding down pretty firmly on these side links, which is forcing these 2 wings on the rear pod flush or touching the ground. I'm assuming these tires are at least really similar. They may be off, and that may screw us up, but if you're going to do it, make sure the tires are the same size. But I didn't take the time to go through and cut these tires and make sure they're the same. Kind of want to be careful. If you notice on that last screw, if I really wrench on this, it lifts up, and you kind of want to snug it while keeping the pressure down so that you're not twisting the pod. I think that's one of the main reasons X-Ray went to that X-link in the rear instead of the tube. They used to have a tube back here. So anyway, I think I've got these kind of snugged up, and we'll see if that helps ride height at all. We're at like 3.2 there, and it's still under 2.6. So I think we are going to end up doing the pod. My test usually for the pivot, I said it wrong, is I'll wiggle these links, and if those links are bound up, it almost is always that center pod. So even though they're not bound up, I still think it's that center pod. I'm just taking these screws out, and just for future reference, you probably do not need Loctite on these screws. Looks like one of them had it. The other thing to keep in mind is that's a super stubby one. That's like an M4 by 5 or 4, and these other ones are by 6, I think. Nope, that one's a 4 as well. So I think on this on this Associated, they call for an M3 by 6 flathead. I've got the pod off, and now I'm just going to take off that crossbar. And I'm just going to flip this whole thing over. In the last video I talked about, part 1, we talked about how it's a geometric problem to get all 5 balls lined up properly. And let's see if we were right on this. This is not the problem on this. This pod is nice and free, so this is not the issue. We may be going back and looking at these springs or something. I don't have any problems with this pod, really. There's not a ton of lateral play this way. Just for the sake of helping everybody else out with the other video, on Johnny's car, on that Roche we were working on, these nuts, this pivot was twisted. So what we would have done on the other car is loosen these 2 with the nuts on them. I'll probably have to get a M5 or a 5.5 mil nut driver on there, and then I'll just kind of let the car hang, and just the weight of it will pull these 2 points in line with the outer 2 balls, and this end result is what we're looking for. You want this rear plate to flop without any resistance. It shouldn't, like the other one had that kind of kink in it. I can't make it happen when it's not there, but this is exactly how it should be, and it fixed the other car, but not the fix on this one here today. So we're going to go back in. We'll pick up in a second. I'm going to put this back together and come back with this back assembled, and we'll look at some other factors.